go to Cyprus. We're serious.
And guess when it's scheduled to return? Tomorrow.
Ezio. Leonardo, when did you get back?
Just now. I need to talk to you. Right away.
The AC2, we took a long time on getting it right? That was that was a pretty substantial production time for that one in particular. Lines in Italian, a heavy use of Italian, that kind of thing. And then I think when it became a hit and they had that on their hands, I think they quickly were like, let's keep this going. And so, yeah, within a year, I think we were cranking. I mean, within months of the release, we were cranking out Brotherhood, and then from Brotherhood, it was on to Revelations. And then from Revelations, like tacking on at one of my last Revelations records, I think we were tacking on the Embers short. So yeah, they came pretty rapid fire right after AC2. It was a whirlwind, 3 years or 4 years of production. We were hopeful that it was going to land well, but I mean, even talking to Patrice Désilets, I know that they had taken 3 years off between the release of Assassin's Creed and then Assassin's Creed 2. And here it was, talk about a gamble. Let's not only like, even though the first one was sort of critically lauded, it did have its flaws. So they took the time to get the fight mechanics right, to not have such repetitive storytelling elements, that kind of thing. But they took a gamble on creating a new protagonist. And so there was a lot of like a feeling of who knows how this is going to go. I mean, we're taking I always say my accent is not authentic Italian at all. It's Italia Spanglinish is the phrase that I use. But we were taking something and blending and working with Ida Darvish, our dialect coach, and trying to say, look, this Renaissance era way of speaking Italian, what would have been more authentic to that, and trying to find ways of saying let's uncontract things to make it a little more stilted in terms of its delivery of language. It was such an ambitious thing that I don't think I wasn't sitting back going, this is going to be a hit. I'm a Scotch-Irish guy going, yeah, all right, I'll be this Italian character, so.
Chris Redfield.
Your reputation precedes you, Mr. Redfield. It's an honor.
Just Chris, thanks.
Punching Boulders is definitely in line with that. That was like, what are we doing? But I'm sure Liam O'Brien and Stephanie Shea were my directors on that, and I'm sure they just looked at me and they're like, well, it's and it would have been like, okay, because I mean, this is what I laugh with fans when they always bring up, like, what's up with that whole punching the boulder thing? And I go, let me get this straight. You've had a game where there are hordes of zombies, not only just zombies, but sometimes giant zombies. And I'm like, and huge tarantulas, zombie-infected tarantula spiders, and all of it. Yeah. You have Albert Wesker standing in a pile of lava, catching RPGs and throwing them back at you. But the boulder punching, that's a bridge too far for you.
More and more, I find myself wondering if it's all worth fighting for. Maybe one day, I'll find out.
Hey. Keep talking about remasters and remakes and things like that, and I've heard that they probably won't with 5 and 6 because they were more of a combat shooter than they were a jump scare, kind of like in the vein of what people associate Resident Evil to sort of embody. So we'll wait and see what becomes of that. But no, I don't know that it ages better. I just think it's like, it's just, again, we're going back to a time when games were just a certain thing. I don't know. It was pre-social media for me, so it wasn't about, Facebook.
You never saw all that fan reaction or anything. You didn't see,
no. Yeah. And that's what I really loved about the business, is that I was like, look, everything that I was doing other than being on a stand-up stage, but at a certain point when I was going into screenwriting for the major, I was thinking, well, this is going to be great because I can hone my comedy chops on a stand-up stage like a lot of writers do. That'll just keep me kind of fresh. It'll keep my, finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world of comedy and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm like, I love the idea of working with the guys and gals in the trenches that are making productions happen. And so for me, it was like, yeah, we get to be a team. Let's all do this. I mean, I'd done PA work and things like that where I was a production assistant, and it was like, and I was working with a crew of people to make it all happen for the stars, out on that stage. And I was like, I love that. It's fun. It's like getting to be a part of it, but not having to be out front where you are under, such scrutiny and judgment and that kind of thing.
Future, huh?
What means your future?
I love about that version of Kyle Crane is that he's not your typical, like, you know, like Chris would never show weakness. You know, Chris is always like, he's got an answer for everything kind of thing. And you know, Kyle Crane by comparison would be just a little bit more hard on his sleeve and a little bit more exasperated. And you know, the quintessential line of, you know, when somebody says like, Kyle, why are you screaming, or why are you yelling? And he says like, I'm yelling because this effed up infected mother effer with guts hanging out of its mouth just spit a bunch of toxic snot at me. Olivia, it's Crane. Do you copy?
I copy. You okay?
Another creature that attacked the town hall. It's not a chimera. It looked more like a volatile, but it attacked in broad daylight.
That's kudos to Techland, and they just, you know, as a studio, they really do spend the time on getting. I've said this throughout the years. It's connected to an analogy in the world of movies where you can take a wonderful script, you can take a really, really good script and make a crappy movie. You cannot take a crappy script and make a good movie. It's just such the skeletal structure of things is so important. And I've always said a great game has to have phenomenal gameplay. You can have the most incredible narrative and incredible story and beautiful performances and all this wonderful music. You can have all of that, but if the gameplay sucks, you don't have a good game. You don't have a good interactive game. And Techland has focused so heavily on their gameplay elements to make it such a gratifying experience that, I mean, like, I always chuckle and I go, look, the narrative in Dying Light 1 was, you know, it had its problems here and there, and it was like, I mean, it's the challenge of taking a development team that's in Poland and having them, you know, hire an English-speaking American actor and working with Harris Orkin on DL1. He was the writer and became my voiceover director on that first game. And we were just sort of flying blind from time differences and things like that. It was very rare that we had an ability to get an answer on the day of like, who is he talking to here, or what's just happened? And so we would kind of just roll the dice, record it a bunch of different ways, and hope that something would stick. So the narrative in Dying Light 1, maybe not as impressive or good as the gameplay, but the gameplay has been for the last decade
and still holds up.
Continues to this day to be such a gratifying, phenomenal zombie game to play.
It appears the game is over before it even begins. I'm not playing games, Slade.
When people say, like, you know, you're not my first Batman, you know, Kevin, and I go, I get it. He's my Batman as well. I mean, that's like, and Troy and I have fielded questions like this, you know, in the past where it's like, you know, the filling those shoes. And I always say, you can't fill those shoes. It's 20 years of an iconic, you know, representation of a character that we all grew up on. It's like, you don't fill those shoes. You borrow as best you can. And honestly, it's like all we can do is try to pay homage and not step outside the box that Kevin and other voice actors and other actors who have portrayed this character both on camera, that they've established where Batman lives, and we try to, you know, pay homage to that as best we can. But look, there are so many people that are doing it now that I think that's probably more where we're going to be at. And it's like, I honestly don't know if that means that they want to get away from familiarity with it and try something entirely different. I know nothing about that. I can't confirm, deny, know nothing about what's going on with regard to Rocksteady on that regard. And of course I would jump at the chance. But no, I was fortunate enough to attend a celebration of life for Kevin, and it was just, the guy was such a remarkable human being. It's just a loss that I don't think people can really quite understand. I mean, just beyond Batman, he loved being Batman. And it's like I say, I can't come close to even competing. I don't try to compete, to be honest. I don't try to do, you know, what Kevin has done, because it's just, I think that would be such an insult. You know, it's like saying, well, I can do that. Again, it would be my crappy impression. I think a lot of people recognize the story is strong. The boss fights were really brutal. Deathstroke. I called it
brilliant.
Deadshot recently, and I was like, no, it's Deathstroke. I didn't call it Deadshot.
Deathstroke fight is one of the best fights, yeah.
And, you know,
so good.
That begins over like, I'm not playing game. And really, the dynamic with Alfred was phenomenal, and that's Martin Jarvis. What a gentleman, and what an accomplished performer, and just such a swell human being. I lament not getting to meet him. I think he did all of his sessions from out in the UK for Arkham Shadow. No, yeah, we never got a chance to see him again, and I hope to. I'm going to be going out into Manchester and things like that, and I hope to make my way to London as well. And I want to just try to shake his hand again, because getting to be in the booth with him for a lot of scenes was one of the best experiences of my acting career. It was just like, man, this is cool. This is not where I should be, you know. And even working with on Arkham Shadow and getting to work with Armin Shimmerman and Mark Ralston. Oh my God, it's Elijah Wood. My God, you know, it's hard for me. All these people that I got to work with, it was such a fun time. Tara Strong on that, all this stuff. It's like, you know, I'm very, very lucky to be a part of that universe. So it's not about picking up a mantle or anything like that. It's just more like, man, lightning has struck too many times in my life.
You're late.
Mason, right on cue.
This ends now, Dorn.
Alden Dorn in Black Ops 7 right now. So I'm voicing he's a very not nice human being known as Alden Dorn. And it's a challenge. I mean, like that one, especially in that, it's sort of such a fast-paced kind of a thing. But it's like, yeah, I'm wondering how that's landing with people right now, because I know there's more, you know, obviously to come. But no, yeah, they just had a couple trailers released with him, and and he's going after Mason, and you know, so bad guys are fun, man. They're a challenge, I think, and yeah, maybe there's something about the timbre of my voice and that kind of thing that has lent itself to sort of like, you know, hero characters. I mean, Captain America and Batman and that kind of thing, but you know.
I gotta admit, I may have tricked you. This was just a lovely time. Thank you for this. Respawn, though, as a company, has been so phenomenal for letting all of the actors that are involved in Apex Legends kind of shape and form the characters from a collaborative perspective. They would say, like, we think this guy is insecure, but he has bravado as like trying to overcompensate for it, and therefore his tongue moves faster than his brain can keep up. He's gonna always like flub his words a little bit here and there, that kind of thing. And then it was like, oh, okay, so like how? Like this, like that? And they go, yeah. And then if you want to play around with it, and suddenly you start kind of going, well, what about like some self-deprecating jokes at the end of it kind of thing? That would be me trying to like put a little button on the end of a funny line or something like that. And then everybody would keep laughing. We'd all have a good time with it. And that was, again, everybody in the room kind of like fueling and feeding into how we created Mirage.
No stranger than rescuing genies in magic books or saving aliens in an interstellar amusement park. I'm more concerned about finding our friends.
Because you've got to go fast, you know, when you're recording Sonic, right? You've got to, you actually do that while running, right?
Oh,
That's the technique you bring?
I'm glad you said that, Dan, because I'm pretty much no different than a Formula One driver. You know, the thrill, the
same preparation, right, with the body work,
neck exercises, because 6 G's, lateral. when I'm turning my head, doing, you gotta go fast. It's like you got to be so careful. So I don't just wake up looking like this. There's a lot of effort.
The idea that this game and the birth of this icon of the interactive world in the video game industry is something that I now get to be a part of. And then here we are this many years later. And honestly, it's one of those things where I was a guy just trying to do a job, just trying to have a career in something, I guess. I don't even think I was setting out going, I'm going to build a career in this industry. It was more like, maybe I can do this and stop being broke. That'd be fun. And then it became this thing. And then here we are this many years later, and 15 years later for Sonic the Hedgehog, I'm still getting to do games. And it's like, man, it's crazy to be a part of something like that. And for 15 years, recognize the Sonic fan base, watch it morph, get to be a part of something from a behind-the-scenes perspective, but then also get to be out and meet people who share cool stories with me that are very similar to me, kind of going, yeah, I remember seeing this thing, this hedgehog character, and it would tap its foot and look at its watch, like if you stopped playing the game, that kind of thing. It was all these things that we now take for granted, I guess, as an industry. To see that, to be a part of it now, and to get to be on the receiving end of the attention that is undeserved, because it's deserved for the people who really build the games and make the music and do all the graphics and all that kind of stuff. But as voice actors, we get a lot of attention for it. So yeah, it's just incredible.